Ready.
Good morning, everyone. We'll welcome you to the Conscious Corner podcast or Zoom discussion on critical issues that affect the African American community. I'm Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University, Long Beach, Africana Studies Department, where I taught for 34 years. Retired professor also from Compton Community College, where I taught for over 10 years and was an administrator, counselor, and professor. And I really enjoyed that experience at Compton Community College, where I taught ethnic studies, history, and psychology. The other thing is I've served on the Compton City Council from 1999 to 2003. And I served on the Compton College Board of Trustees from 1995 to 1999. And I served at the Compton Unified School District on the Board of Trustees for both Compton College and the Unified School District from 1991 to 1995. So we want to welcome you here. And hopefully our co-host will join us, Joe Hembrick, who is a longtime educator for Lynda Unified School District, where he taught for years as administrator and coach, the first head Black coach for Lynda Unified, and an administrator and teacher for Compton Unified School District. He will be joining us shortly, hopefully. We want to thank Brother Rashaki Maskani for providing us this space where we can discuss critical issues that affect us worldwide. We're not just people that just talk about domestic issues. We talk about international, third world policy, Pan-Africanism, all of those things that go into a healthy discussion about our situation as Black people. Secondly, we want to thank Brother Mshinda, who's out of Louisiana, giving us a Southern hospitality, well as a Southern analysis of what's going on in the Deep South. And we got Sister Lynda Shorter here, who's going to have a virtual book fair very shortly, which she will discuss. And then at the same time, she's a longtime activist out of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and now she resides in Florida, dealing with the governor who is planning on running for president, and the uniqueness of that Florida situation with regards to controversy by the governor and dropping off people, immigrants, in different, what he considered sanctuary cities. And so we're going to get started. First of all, I wanted to get some opinions about immigration from the guests. But, we want to talk about good things also, as well as frontline issues. And the frontline issues are the one that's dealing with the murder of Jordan Neely at the substation in New York, where he was strangled by a Marine in a chokehold. He had, they say he had mental issues. He was yelling and screaming. He was hungry and he didn't want to live and this and that. And so they jumped him, some white men, put him in a chokehold. And he ended up dying right there at the substation, where the masses have demanded that the individual that killed him be arrested. All the police did was talk to him and release him. Now my understanding is they're presenting the case to the grand jury. But there's there's steps that you got to stay engaged. First, you want to get them arrested. Second, you want to get them charged. Third, you file the case till the conviction. That's the goal. Then fourth, you want a real sentence for that. They're charging him with manslaughter. Okay, And then, so we want to look at that. Second, we want to look at what looks to be a racially motivated killing in Allen, Texas, where a man just came up and he had white gun death squad, white policy death squad that was on his badge, and they found racial things on his computer. And so the point is that he drove up and just started shooting. And the masses is organizing. And he was killed by one of the police. So there's not too much demonstration. But at the same time, we want to discuss the issue of guns in the magnitude that they're having on the African-American community with regards to mass shootings and how the white right wing, that's what his name is, Death Squad, which is the model of the Proud Boys. And so we're going to look at that and why we've had a number of mass shootings of Black, even the one in Denver at the drive-in. That's where most of the Black people went to, that theater in Aurora. And then at the same time, not just the mass shootings of Black people in Black community, churches and schools and things of this nature, even, but also the everyday killing. I remember in Long Beach once, twice, some brothers were sitting at the bus stop and a car drove by and shot him. And people were quick to say it was gang related. But when the police caught the people that did the shooting, they were white. And the same thing happened on Willow in Atlantic. An Asian left some restaurant or something, and a car drove up and shot him. They caught the people that did the shooting, and they were white. But there's a lot of assassinations. Some people theorize or see as a conspiracy that some of these killings that they call drive-by were done by vigilante groups that are executing Black people, and then they say it's gang-related and things of that nature. So we got to take that under consideration. But anyway, the masses is out, and they're taking a hardline position on defending Black people from that standpoint. But tonight we're going to discuss immigration. It's not just about what they're doing to us. It's about what we do and respond to what they're doing to us. That's the issue. That's the concern. So we're going to start off with getting opinions and thoughts about immigration and the history of it and the perspective of it. So Lynda, you from Florida, you got a governor that has a hardline position on immigration. What is your position, Lynda?
Okay, well, my position is, and I keep saying it over and over and over every time, we know he's a Satan. Satan, you call him DeSantis, the Satan. That's all he is. And that says that in a nutshell. The man is crazy, and of course, he'll do anything what Satan people do to destroy people who don't look like him. And I mean, I'm saying that in a nutshell. He's just crazy and evil. And I do not ever agree with nothing he says, including when he's trying to take, I know we're sticking on immigration, how he's trying to take Black studies and Black history out of the schools. And then we got a lot of crazy Black people still trying to vote for this fool because what he did about abortion is his ignorance. So that's why we got to keep trying to school our people on, leave this fool alone, because his chances are even good trying to run for president. And you know, he's neck and neck with Trump now. All of them, both of them crazy. But we just got to keep educating our people about Satan worshipers.
Well,
And then we got to come together.
There's two things about the suppression of Black education. It's not just Santos. There's a big demonstration going on in Seton Hall University, where the only Black professor in Black studies, they're not retaining his contract. And so the students had a sit-in at the president's office, and they spent the night there demanding, and I like this, I really liked it. The students demanded that they hire 3 to 4 full-time faculty members, reestablish the Black Studies program, hire a department chair and give them a tenure, and that they be on the search committees, and that they took in a hard line. It was students that started African-American studies. It was students that the academians and took it over for the most part. Whereas when we first started, we hired based on experience, based on consciousness. We took a lot of things under consideration as committee members at that time. We even participated in writing, I know I did, writing a curriculum for the Black Studies program, along with faculty members that were part of the consciousness movement at Cal State Long Beach. But all of a sudden, now academicians are changing the name from Black Studies to Africana Studies. Academicians are making changes in the program and making it, trying to meet the standards of what they consider a university. What we did, we created our own standards. It would be Black. If you're going to use white standards, you might as well be white studies. In grading and in reaching out and providing services, participating in faculty student organizations, mobilizing your classes to be active. All of that was part of the movement. It's gone now. And it's for the most part.
But also, you got to realize that there are several organizations, many organizations throughout, even Florida alone, they're having their own studies, especially through summer's is coming up. You can find 1,000 organizations from the fraternities, sororities, even these libraries. They're bringing in, like the NAACP came into our library in our meeting last week and said they want us to be involved with them to teach classes there at the libraries.
Yeah,
through NAACP and NCNW. So many organizations are getting involved from right in the community.
Yeah, but I was bringing that up to let you see that there was just like they suppressing the vote, they're suppressing the knowledge. It's an attack on Black people.
They're trying to.
Yeah, but getting back to immigration, what is your position on immigration, Lynda?
Like I said at the beginning, DeSantis is Satan, and if anything he says, I'm against it.
Okay, are you for it? Immigration?
I'm saying
against it. I mean, what's your position on immigration? Not Santos, yours.
My position is, why not let the people? They people just like us. Why would you not want them in?
Well,
hold on. I'm sorry, I'm listening. I'm also talking to. So hold on, wait, right here.
Okay.
Sir, hold on.
Why you think they don't have a workable immigration policy? This country. How come they haven't passed no legislation for immigration?
Oh, I have no idea, because I don't know. I just can't answer that right now. Can somebody else help me out, please?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make wash these
dishes. I know. One of the reasons is
sorry.
One of the major reasons is because most of the immigrants that come here The reason the Republicans vote against it is that it affects their party. Most immigrants that come here are going to be in the Democratic Party. So the Republicans won't develop a policy of immigration. They're going to just be against all immigration from minorities. They support white immigration, but they're going to depress. They do not like an influx of millions and sometimes hundreds of thousands of poor Latinos coming over here and they're going to be getting services from cities that welcome them. And part of that service is going to lure them to the Democratic Party. So the Republicans say, hey, no, we ain't going for no policy. As a matter of fact, we want to build a wall and we want to institute Title 42, which I'll get into. Title 42 is a policy the CDC put into effect during COVID, that they used that as a reason not to let no one in and send all that they catch back across the border, legal or illegal. Nobody could come in based on the CDs. And Trump took it and instituted it even tighter and rougher, creating little camps and prison camps and putting kids in them and separating families and things of that nature. But we'll get to that later. Brother Mshinda, you there? Brother Mshinda?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Brother. Yeah, what's your position on immigration?
Well, I mean, that's a broad question, but my position is, it seems like mostly everybody in this country is an immigrant. You know, the old saying, black folks was brought here. Some black folks might have been already here. Look at the history. But at the end of the day,
But
the way
black people
what?
didn't immigrate here. They didn't immigrate here. Most black people are
Well, when I
descendants.
say immigrate,
Uh,
they were brought here in chains. There was a migration, a forced migration. So no, they didn't jump on a plane or a boat or swim across the ocean to try to get free. But I'm saying, but anyway, you know, I think the more importantly, there's racist, always have been racist policies in the Western hemisphere, over here in the Western world, white dominance, white supremacy. So it's nothing new under the sun. White supremacy is not dead. It's alive and well, like always. And so it's always, when you're losing your edge, we talked about this on other podcasts. They've been looking at the clock. They see time is ticking away on their existence on the planet, just genetically and biologically. So at the end of the day, anything that's not white, Hitler spoke on it very well and tried a major attempt on trying to, keep it like he need, like they wanted, but they stumped him out, I guess, or they slowed him down. But there's others out there that's trying to, perpetuate the same, you know, situation. So, but as far as my position, I mean, you know, if you got some Haitians that are on a boat or anybody that's trying to look for, greater land or trying to find a better life for themselves, I'm all for it. I don't own this world. This ain't my world. So if you're looking for, a spot in this world to better yourself, you and your family, you trying to escape tyranny, you trying to escape, white supremacy, whatever you're trying to escape, you're trying to escape for a reason. People don't escape their countries unless something's going on. People don't leave unless something's going on. So I don't have a problem with it. But in Louisiana, they got a, over there in Alexandria, the detention centers, they've been exercising people back to Haiti. They've been having plane loads of folks. They got a detention center there. They jump on that plane, and they put them on that plane and send them to Haiti and different places. People that come into this country, it's like, they're not out walking around. Those folks that they gather up, they put them in detention centers in different places. The Mexicans that come across the border, they put a lot of them in detention centers. Separate. You saw it. Separate the families, the kids. They don't care, and ready to send you back to wherever you came from. Now, is there room over here? Is the infrastructure bathed? Hey, I hear people complain about, oh, there's a lot of cars on the street. The Mexicans, they got a bunch of cars. You can't even park in front of your house and things like that. Well, that's a code enforcement issue. Hey, maybe that it's not made to have, a triple amount of the cars that it's made for, the blocks, the streets, the cities, that kind of thing. So not that you can't come over here, but, you got to abide by whatever's going on. And, so it's a very intricate situation. Can't say that somebody can't drive a car or park a car, but, I understand, people's complaints about certain things, when you got people coming into the country and they living in your neighborhood and so forth, is nobody complains until they come into their neighborhood, and certain things, different cultural situations that go on. So that's an argument, but those things could be resolved, but as far as just somebody trying to find a safe haven, I'm all for it. Hell, I might need to get out of here and run to Ghana or somewhere. I hope they accept me. You never know. So, but like I say, there's some racist policies in place. It's getting very bold out there. This Satan guy, as Sister Lynda talks about in Florida, he's trying to do a full court press. And over there in Texas and even in Louisiana, Senate, the House and the Senate here, state reps, they have the super majority. Look what happened in Tennessee with the brothers. They trying to take away your voice, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's all tied together. So white supremacy is in full force and effect, and I'm not for that for sure. And but I don't know. So my position is, hey, anybody's welcome as long as, you abide, you respect the other folks when you get here. That's all. Just show respect and it's all good. I don't care who you are. If you show respect, hey, man, you can stay here. But that's all I have at the moment, unless you have another question.
No, that's good. But migration is when you come to work and you go back. Immigration is when you come to stay. So, there's two perspectives on that. But African people, the Latino, are those that's on the border, from Mexico, Guadalajara, in those Latin American areas. They come in here to stay. They come in here as refugees. And according to the United States immigration policy, that's what people seeking asylum from death squads, drug cartels, gangs, and violence, and things of that nature. But Mexico and other countries that's near the United States were ripped off and suppressed. Why Mexico don't have no serious army? They don't have no serious Air Force. They don't have no serious Navy. And because they're on the border of the United States, the United States suppressed their industry. They'll sell cartels, guns, the rule, and the United States will play a role in bribing the leadership. And then major corporations move over there, and they mainly hire the women. They don't hire the men that much. And, because there was a thing about America moving their industry, so they don't have to pay unemployment, don't have to pay Social Security, don't have to pay workman comp, taxes and things of this nature. So they go to these poor countries and work them people to death for cheap labor, just enough to eat, but not enough to prosper. And they've concentrated mainly on women. But that's another, I can get into that later. Rashiki, what's your position on immigration? Rashiki, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I had to unmute and all of that. Well, my position, I can't. Well, I could think about what I really don't have a position because I don't I haven't really looked at any of the laws that they have in place and all of that. I know they always talk about the Trump era something. But I listen to Democracy Now! A lot. And they always have stories on immigrants and the things that's happening to them, and the Trump era. I can't think of the Trump era something that they have there, but I haven't studied it, in which I should. But I listen when I listen to Neely Fuller. He always say, "Which way did the white people go?" And what you were saying, Professor Rahh, how you have these death squads, you have these militias. I don't know if you would call them militias, but the people in these countries that they have these gangs that kind of you know make it's like lawlessness. So they have these armies that come in, not armies, but whatever. I don't know the exact name, but you were mentioning it, Rob. And they suppress the people. And it's like where do they get these guns and all of these weapons from to become like that? So it all goes back to the world system that we live in and how they just create chaos in a lot of places. And people have no choice. The honest, working, hardworking people have no choice but to flee because they're getting murdered. So they try to come to the United States because supposedly it's the land of the free, the home of the brave. And you have all these people trying to get in, and it's like they can't control all of that's what's going on, and who created all this chaos in the first place. So the source of all of this hell mongering going on is this system, the world system that's going on. So it's a whole bunch of chaos, and people can't, honest, working hard people can't get their just due because the lawlessness rules the land. And when you come over here to the United States, and you talk about they travel thousands of miles by foot to get over here, and it's just a whole bunch of you know chaos. And what can you do as an immigrant? You only hope that you can get to a place where you can work and earn a living to take care of your family, and that's what these people are trying to do. But it's just it's messed up, unfair that they have to go through all this just to live. So when it comes to taking a position, my position is we have to get rid of this system, and it's very difficult. I mean, we are fortunate people because we're already here, and we do the best we can. It's just unfortunate for other people, and I always think about this: what will happen when things start to turn around and we get placed in a position where we have to go on foot? It's going to be terrible if the people in the United States get that table turned on them. You know, who knows it feels it. We're lucky people. So it's going to be it's a grand challenge to dismantle and come up with better policies for people. It comes down to what are we in humanity or are we in inhumanity? And I say we are in a situation where it's inhumane, and we got a long way to go
Yeah.
as
You know,
people in general.
yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of prejudice in the Black community toward immigrants. They blame them for taking jobs. They blame them for, as Mshinda say, parking and driving the way they drive. Some of them, they blame them for the way they paint their houses. They blame them for having 4 and 5 families in one house. They blame them because America seemed to favor them as far as low-income jobs. They blame them for having all the food trucks in their neighborhoods. They blame them for bringing the fireworks, cherry bombs, and scare people. And then at the same time, they blame them for a lot of the violence. They caught the street takeovers with taking over the streets with their cars, spinning out. People blame, they have a prejudice toward immigrants. Now, most Black people don't know the difference between the various Latinos. Now, you look at them food trucks, they have different ways of cooking tacos and burritos and different meats. They know the difference. You don't. Most Black people don't know the difference between Chinese, Japanese, or Vietnamese. You understand? Except for by the language and things of that nature. So we don't, we just look at them as all Mexicans, but they're not all Mexicans. And we get some come from violent background, and they bring it here. Some are into the drug marketing because they had a connection. There's a law against selling drugs, but they still sell them. There's a law against murder. People still kill people. And there's a law about people entering this country undocumented, which they call illegal, or aliens when they're human beings, as Lynda was saying. So, there's a lot of prejudice among many Black that blame Latinos and Mexicans are immigrants for taking over, opening up businesses, open up stores. And where are they getting the money from? How come they can get loans for houses and Black people can't? There's a lot of prejudice in the Black community. So then, have you ever experienced Black people that are prejudiced against Latino?
No, I have not. Nope.
Okay. What about you, Mshinda?
What was the question?
Have you met Black people that are prejudiced against immigrants or undocumented people or just Mexicans, period?
Well, not really, not so much, having the power to mess over them, because we don't do that as a people, but we've made comments. People have made comments, like I said, you know, made, stereotypical comments, putting everybody in the same boat, not understanding, somebody could be from Guatemala or Honduras or Costa Rica or other Latin American countries, not necessarily Mexicans, but I hear people in their language, speaking about, folks. I was in a conversation with a lifelong friend of mine, so-called, she's educated and so forth, and to a certain degree. And then when you hear her say, we were number two. Now we're number three. The Mexicans is number two or whatever. I don't subscribe to that kind of thinking. Personally. We lack education. We lack hope. We lack disenfranchisement and redlining and all the racist policies and things that we've been subjected to. But I think that at the end of the day, um, I think the the campaign of white supremacy has done a job on a lot of our people, and who've lost self-esteem and hope, or just looking at it the wrong way. Um, I mean, when I was younger, I used to talk about the white man all the time, but I got to realize, hey, it's like I'm sure Brother Rasaki can appreciate this. It's like a math problem. There's a given in it. There's in the equation. Okay, so okay, now what? What's next? What's how do we resolve this issue? Well, here's the given. How do you resolve the problem? So and that comes through um, understanding what's going on in the world. When it comes to I work in education. We have a lot of training programs, and we got a lot of young brothers and sisters, you know, walking the streets, looking hopeless. And if they come to work, if they come there and get some education, and they can get a free education, it doesn't cost them a quarter. If they can they'll qualify for one of those grants. And and again, don't get me wrong, I'm not uh putting them down because of the condition, the situation that they're in, but it's a mindset that has, they've done a job on them. They've done a job on me, I guess, to at a certain point in my life, till I start trying to understand and start waking it up and say, wait a minute, I'm in charge of myself, to a certain degree. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not talking no bootstrap theory or nothing like that at all, but I'm just talking about having a desire to get up, and that's tough, and so at the end of the day, I'm just saying that, we can blame the immigrants. They say, well, who gonna do the work? Who gonna put your roof on your house? I don't know too many black companies going around with roofs, roof companies. We could talk, like they said, we could talk our A off, but I don't see too many brothers going around, building roofs and things. They have brothers that do it. I'm meeting with a brother tomorrow. He's my main man when it comes to my contractor. He just texted me a while ago, and he's going to do some work for me. And I'm glad that he's coming. I got some things I got to do. But before that, another piece of property I had a Honduran guy. He was a contractor, and he took care of me. We worked a deal. He had the crew. So I got much respect for him. That's all. We even trade is not a swindle. He told me, I told him what I needed. He gave me a price, and I agreed to it. Now if there's a brother or sister, whoever can come forward, hey, I go. Hey, I'm down with that. Don't get me wrong. But but anyway, I'm not here to make no excuses, man. I'm trying to go for mine. At the same time, spread the knowledge and the wealth of information on how to get yours. And that's it. To a certain extent, I can't save the world, but but no, I don't. I'm not blaming nobody. You know, I mean, when I say blame, it's a given that there's a problem out there. There's white supremacy, sure. So now I got to use my time and energy. How do I do what I need to do within that construct and in those within those challenges and do what I got to do. And so when they take black, they're trying. That's why they're trying to take history and all those things out of the schools and don't want you to teach what you're talking about tonight because of the fact that it empowers people. Might give you a chance to wake up and say, "Wow, brother Rod told me something good," and man, that's all. It's countless people that have come on this podcast and said how you inspired them throughout their life, in your position, so that's pretty deep. But they're trying to cut all that out. They don't need that in Long Beach State. They got why would they want that in Long Beach State? They got a brother down there empowering people, so it's deep. So anyway, that's all I gotta say, man. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Well, asante for that. That's a good analysis. And just quickly in response, there are a lot of African Americans that are prejudiced toward Latinos and immigrants. They blame them for everything. It's one thing about it, as we say in Kawhi, you can talk about Mexicans, you can talk about Buddha head Chinese, call them names. But you don't hear them talking about the white man. It's like the gangs shooting each other, but when the police show up, they stop shooting and start running. It's a challenge to talk to people who may have had see things. If Latinos have traditional jobs, like contractors hire them to do the work so they can save money and cheap labor. They're bricklayers, if they're roofers, if they're window, they floor people, and they got the skills. That is one of the policies of the immigration policy of the United States, to try to bring in skilled labor at that same time. But at the same time, we were the skilled laborers coming out of the Holocaust of enslavement. And we were needed. And that's why they stopped all the Back to Africa movements. They needed us to continue to work. They called it sharecropping. I hired them, and we was working for cheap labor and unions after when they was at war, and then when they came back, they kicked us out of a lot of jobs. And now you have in the 50s, black kids were cutting lawns for people, $3.50 and all that. Now grown men take them jobs. And back in the 50s and 60s, we were the dishwashers, the busboys, we were the domestic workers. All of that has dissipated. And this just dissipated because white folks started hiring. But as we got more rights, when we began to understand the system, we began to demand to be treated equally. Pay me the same amount you're paying white folks. There was an old saying, black people with a college degree make less than a white boy with no degree. And so, many of our black people had college degrees, and that's where Rashiki get that, each one teach one. Once you learn, you have a responsibility to teach others. Black people develop skills. Whatever your daddy was, that's what you became. You understand? Auto mechanic, roofer, painter, that was just the protocol. But as you say, Mshinda, there's a lot going on that's beyond your control. The European is the one that's hiring them. But there's about somewhere around 10,000 black corporations in California. where there's over 500,000 Latino corporations in California. And that's a big difference. And they hire their own people from the corporations, small businesses in different areas. Then they require bilingual, speak Spanish and English. So then when we started language skills, Ebonics, they started bilingual. And they got a lot of money for it. And so they weren't punished for not speaking English. Whereas we still was getting put in special training if we didn't know proper English. The whole point of Ebonics is to teach English as a second language, not a preferred language, but teach English as a second language and give us the support and the money to teach the writing and speaking skills of English. You know, our people used to say, go fetch that thing over there, yonder. You understand? And then, you know, I mean, just a lot of dialects that we got, that we retained from Africa, as Dr. Ernie Smith would talk about in Ebonics. But anyway, Rashaki, have you ever experienced people speaking prejudice, both sides, Latinos, prejudice against Black?
A lot of stereotyping, a lot of ignorance I've experienced, especially, you know, with these kids. You know, they just take on the personality of their environment, and they listen to, you know, their parents that will say certain things about people. And, you know, just like we learn from our parents, you know, it becomes like a wildfire. And everybody just jump on the same bandwagon, not understanding the language that they're speaking. I give you a big one. I have kids calling me racist. And they don't even know what racism is. I have to tell them all the time. I said, you're using the word in the wrong context. and they say it against each other. And it's like, you guys, you have to understand the word racist and racism. And I explained it to them from all the things I've been learning about it throughout the past 10 years, you know, being in the Black Studies department, listening to Neely Fuller context of white supremacy, racism, white supremacy with the counter-racist codes. And he breaks down, Brother Mshinda says, oh, why do they call me racist? If I'm speaking to a student that may be Hispanic and they think that I'm unfair towards them, they say, oh, Mr. Moore, you being a racist. I'm like, what? I said, no, I'm not. I have to always take my time to explain things to them, because people just say what they hear and not fully understanding it. So that's what I experienced, a lot of stereotyping on all sides. So that's about it. Not, you know, no more than that. Just a lot of ignorance and I guess, you know, how things get started. You know, one person said, they say, oh, okay, then the other people start saying it and it just catch on. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. I gotta get back on. Yeah, and you 100% right, but there is some prejudice about you know, because you see what they call race fights in you know, in Latino schools, attacking Black kids, or even when Black people have the majority, sometimes they attack Latinos. I know when I was coming up, man, at Bunch, you know, it was about close to 60-40, you know, Latino. And we would be boxing all the time, you know, free fall on the Mexicans, you know. And then after school, you got to run home because all your family will be out there waiting on you. I mean, you see number of Chevrolets out there. Drop, you know. Most of them came in to work, so they don't go to school. And they don't vote. Latinos outnumber residents in Compton 2-1, but they're mostly immigrants. Compton is a drop city, and the Catholic churches are sanctuaries for helping them. There's a difference between racism and prejudice. They just don't know, or some people just don't know it. When you curb people, prejudice is a symptom of racism, but you can be prejudiced against a lot of things, not just people. But anyway, you see the conflict, and some of the biggest street gangs out of East LA and out of downtown Los Angeles, MS-13. When I taught in juvenile hall, they were serious. There was a lot of them got their guns from the United States because they even had a thing about that during the Clinton presidency, whereas some people were shot and they found out that they had gotten guns from United States military people. And then at the same time, they brought a lot of drugs in through Mexico. Not the Mexicans, like even though Mexicans do, had tunnels and, just the way they had to hustle, supplement their income. And so you have a conflict in certain neighborhoods. People saying, the Mexicans taking over the projects. Well, they instituted policy number 1, whereas if you got a kid living with you and he committed a crime, they kick you out. So they use that to kick a lot of Black people out of projects, low-income homes. Now many of them are homeless. And you have other policies, whereas, we work with the, coming up in the 60s, we worked with the Latinos during the Black movement and the Brown movement. They had a civil rights movement, we had a civil rights movement. And they had the Brown Berets, we had the Black Panthers, and the US organization, and a number of other Black organizations that work with Latinos. I mean, some people argue that Cesar Chavez didn't get off the ground until Martin Luther King supported him. And other Black organizations supported his boycott of grapes and alliances. But then again, there was always that conflict. Dating each other created conflict, whereas Blacks would go in and try to date a Latino girl, and they go visit and get beat up on the way home. There's a lot of prejudice and conflict. Yeah, Mshinda, go ahead. You got your hand up, Mshinda? You on mute. You got your hand up. Mshinda?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I just remember years ago. You might remember this. What was that guy's name? Mexican guy that was talking about they gonna take over LA block by block. You remember that?
Yeah.
Was his name Cisneros? What was that dude? He was like a local dude. He might have been I don't know if he was a representative or I don't know who he was, but he made a comment. I was young. Go ahead.
You're right. I mean, that's what they said in Linwood when they became the majority. They had a park named after Merv Diamond, and they took it down. They said, we in charge now. We're going to get y'all for being prejudiced toward us. And Black people never was prejudiced. They always catered to Latinos because they wanted their vote. But they created this concept that Black people was prejudiced against them because of school fights and things of that nature. But as far as political, Merv Dimley, he had his office full of Latinos. Most Black people hire Black people, most Latino Congress people and Senate people hire Latinos. But there are a lot of Blacks that hire Latinos because constituency. It's a good look. There's a lot of catering to Latinos by political people, but the Latinos don't cater to us. They operate more cities than any other ethnic group. And when you look at Paramount, predominantly Latino, Huntington Park, Southgate, we can go on and on and on. East LA, there was an argument trying to make East LA a city, but the county wouldn't let them. Liso Village, all those areas. Latinos were here, with a mixture of Black people who started Los Angeles. San Diego is a Spanish name. Los Angeles is a Spanish name. San Pedro, all of that, and Blacks were with them, because they mixed in the discovery of these cities and the role of these cities. But, Dominguez family had all of Palos Verdes and all the way down to almost Santa Barbara, if you know your history. But, Mshinda, the struggle continues. And if we want to develop an alliance with the Latinos, but they got to respect your position. But if they think that, hey, look, I'm going to side with white folks, and a lot of them do, because they got different classes, a lot of European-based Cubans fight to be, that's how Santos get elected in Florida. How could Bush carry Florida and Santos carry Florida if Latinos didn't vote for him? They even saying the guy that did the shooting was Latino, but he didn't like immigrants. He's a part of the white ring. So it's a lot of conflict, as you said, Mshinda, that we have to study and get educated on. And so we got to look at that. So, but we're going to continue this discussion later. Next week, I'm pretty sure on the 22nd, Rashiki, Damien said